To begin, I'd like to thank God for the talents and abilities that He's blessed me with that have allowed me to be here today. Next, Mom and Dad. Your endless support and your advice that you've given me in all circumstances has truly been beneficial to my walk with God and my life here at CCS. From the 2000 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, strawberry peanut butter toasted, to the endless road trips to pick up a new race car or go to see family, I've truly enjoyed my time with you. To our rest of the family and friends that are here today, thank you. Your endless support and efforts to throw in a little hint of advice or simply support me when I felt down about something will truly not be forgotten. To the faculty and staff at CCS, thank you for putting up with me through my angry years, as Ms. Smith calls them in elementary, to my lack of a filter overall throughout my education. To the class of 2019, you're special. From turning national cemeteries into bathrooms to Reagan's lack of understanding being funnier than the joke itself. Thanks for all the memories. Now today, it's amazing how many people have asked me if I was going to mention them in my speech. This is mentioning you now. You know who you are. Today I'd like to answer a question. How are you so smart? I was asked this many times throughout my high school career, and to be honest, you may think that's a cocky question or arrogant question to answer on this stage, but to be honest, I don't even think it's a good question. How are you so successful? To answer this, I have 4 focuses. Who you are is more important than what you are. Today, I'm valedictorian. Tomorrow, who cares? We start over at the bottom. Besides, everything the colleges have seen says I was number 2. To further expand on this, I've gone to my yearbook to say what some classmates have said about me. Thank you for always being encouraging and always following Christ no matter what. Gonna miss your positivity. Second, thank you for always seeing the best in me and always pushing me to be the best me I can be and not settling for less. You are truly a role model for me in my walk with Christ and your leadership each day. Third, I have an immense amount of respect for you. I'm so glad that I've gotten to be your friend these last few years. And lastly, man, I don't know where to begin. You've seen me at my best and you've seen me at my worst, and I've constantly pushed me to be the best man, student, and athlete as I can be. I can honestly say I would not be the man I am today without you. They don't make many like you anymore. This is what makes you special. You're a once-in-a-lifetime friend, and I thank God He gave me mine. I love you, brother. Don't change for anyone. Jay Wood. A Christ-centered leader who constantly pushes to make others better through daily positivity and encouragement. Who you are is more important than what you are. The biggest excuse I always hear when discussing this question is, frankly, I don't have enough time. My response to that is this. Time is not best spent measuring the hours in our days, but rather the priorities in our life. Think about what you value most. Parents, grandparents, you likely would say your kids or your grandchildren. And your time likely reflects that. The Christian school answer would be Jesus. The question is, does your time show it? If I was betting, I would say 9 out of 10 of us today checked our phone before we did anything that was productive. And a similar sized group has wasted more time on it today than they've invested in God's Word. Your time reflects your priorities. William Penn said, time is what we want most, but use worst. Let's think about that for a moment. Time is what we want most, but use worst. Every one of you has a dream. Research would tell us that 90% of us will never reach our biggest goals. And some researchers say as much as 98%. Less than 3% of Americans ever write down their goals, and less than 1% truly go back and reflect on them to create new reaches for their success. That means roughly 50 of us in here today will reach the success that we truly desire, maybe less than that. And the others, failure. Why, you ask? Let's look at how we spend our time. Facebook tells us that the average social media user spends an hour a day just scrolling through. In research by CBS News, the average 8 to 10-year-old spends 7 hours a day staring at a screen. 7 hours? That's more sleep than I got last night. Research says it takes 10,000 hours to master a craft. If we cut that screen time in half, you can be a master of anything by the time you reach adulthood, or simply a jack of all trades at that. My favorite example from high school when using time well is the balance between athletics and academics. I was often seen reading my favorite novel that was shelved and assigned in a football locker room, or simply doing calculus on a bus ride. I was dogged heavily for this. But I will say I got creative in my later years I was often seen jamming with the rest of the football team with headsets in, when really I was just reading the intro to fiction novel through an audiobook. Now, an audiobook may be a stretch for most of you, but I ask you to think about this. Every one of us spends time in the car each day. Do we simply just listen to the radio or the news, or just waste the time away thinking mindlessly? I challenge you to do this. How about a YouTube video or a podcast that has a beneficial topic that will benefit your life in some way? Mine personally is finance or real estate, but I will tell you to remember this. Your time reflects your priorities. Thirdly, a few months back, I was having a conversation with a classmate about my overall lack of relationships, which Mama knows that ain't all true. She told me I cared too much. Now, I thought about this, and I decided to take that as a compliment. As most of you know, I've raced competitively for the last 6 years. What most of you don't know is the countless hours that go in the shop to be prepared for that. There's hundreds of components, nuts, bolts, many things that have to be checked, glued, tightened, and sometimes tie-wired to ensure that we will not have a failure on the track. As my father would say, to finish first, you must first finish. And that too shows you must care too much. Another question I'd like to answer today that is related to this topic is, why do you want 100 and not just an A? I can answer this in 3 parts. The final 5% of anything is truly the hardest to achieve and shows true mastery when you do. The second you may relate with more, and that is this. If you shoot for 100, you have 10 points of error, and you still make an A. And lastly, likely the most important, as it comes from one of my favorite verses in the Bible, Colossians 3:23, which says, whatever you do, work at it with all your heart, as working for the Lord, not for human masters. Work at it with all your heart. If God says work at it with all your heart, I'm going to shoot for 100. Care too much. And lastly, today, I have a quote from Coach Kramer that we looked back at many times throughout our football season. Whether it was mad at us in the huddle because we weren't on it today or were tired and not practicing well, he would constantly tell us this: little things matter. Now, imagine we're lining up for triple 20s and you put your foot just 3 inches over a line. In a matter of 2 weeks, that can add up to a whole skip rep, or maybe even 2. And you may say that doesn't matter, it's just little. Then I'll ask you this: is 2 points a little? It's just a layup in basketball, just a 2-point conversion in football, just a couple mental errors in soccer, but I can say this: it was enough to end both our football and soccer seasons. Little things matter. I love tying things back to time. Let's say one of us was 5 minutes late to a summer practice. Just 5 minutes. No, that's the wrong way to look at it. The selfish way. There were close to 40 people on the team, if you include coaches, meaning you've wasted over 3 hours of other people's time just because you didn't want to leave your house earlier. Little things matter. Let's translate this to life. Show up late or even tired in a team environment at work, and you've wasted other people's time in much the same way. Maybe just minutes a day, but that can add up to many hours in just a year's time. Little things matter. Class of 2019, as we enter the world we hope to be successful in, remember these. No matter where you find yourself, who you are is more important than what you are. In every phase of life, time will reflect your priorities. No matter what others say, care too much. In everything you do, little things matter. And lastly, remember, put your dreams into action. This has been Russell Jackson.